In the realm of horology, where the enchanting elegance of a Rolex beckons like a distant star, and the wallet remains firmly rooted in the domain of more modest timepieces such as Timex, the chasm between aspiration and attainability can feel like an impassable divide. The Rolex, with its clean, timeless aesthetic and unrivaled reputation, stands as the paragon of watchmaking, a symbol of distinction coveted by enthusiasts around the globe. Yet, as Rolex prices soar to unprecedented altitudes, it's as if they've ascended to a celestial realm far beyond the grasp of mere mortals. The desire to sport that iconic Rolex on your wrist may seem as elusive as chasing the constellations themselves. With a humble $100 residing in your back pocket, you might find yourself gazing at the Rolex showcase, unable even to fathom affording the box that cradles one of these horological treasures. Despair not, for a savior has risen from the depths of watchmaking's lesser-known wonders, and its name is the Seiko SNXS79. This remarkable timepiece, in the world of affordable watches, carries with it the promise of revelation, a source of inspiration that bridges the expanse between your dreams and reality. The Seiko SNXS79 emerges as a shining beacon of hope, a watch that blurs the boundaries of aspiration and attainment, allowing you to experience a taste of horological excellence in a way that you can truly call your own. As you embark on this journey, you'll soon discover that it's not merely about the watch on your wrist, but the story it tells, the dreams it ignites, and the promise of a future where the celestial Rolex may not be quite as distant as the stars. Before starting, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, I'm definitely not going to make a direct comparison of a sub-$100 Seiko to a Rolex watch that cost thousands, but this watch has a very luxurious vibe, slightly reminiscent of the Rolex Oyster Perpetual. I'd not quite go as far to say it's an Oyster Perpetual homage, just that it takes some really well-designed aspects from the watch, and that's definitely not a bad thing. The rich, dark dial juxtaposed against the pronounced bezel of the bright, polished case really packs a punch. The watch looks slightly different at any angle, adding to the dynamic charm of the piece. The sunburst grey of the dial lightens up when viewed head-on, but darkens and has an almost visually glossy black appeal at an angle. Seiko Lume. On the grey dial are rectangular hour markers with applied lume, framed in polished steel. Seiko is known for generally having very strong lume on their watches, but some of the Seiko 5 models fall short in this area. The SNXS79's lume, however, shines bright like a torch. It helps that the hour markers are so large and bold, it doesn't take much sunlight to charge it either. Just a few minutes standing in direct sunlight, and the lume will be fully charged and ready to go. Seriously, looks amazing. It doesn't last for an extremely long time, but fades out gradually and helps the watch be more legible in the dark and at night. Folded link bracelet like most Seiko 5 models. The included bracelet is pretty terrible. It has folded links, feels light, cheap and jangly, and adds no additional heft or feeling of security when wearing it on your wrist. It doesn't have any screws or even pushpins like most bracelets, so sizing it can be extremely difficult. It's completely brushed, which contrasts completely with the all-polished case. I think the brushing on the bracelet kind of looks out of place, like it doesn't belong on this watch, especially since there are absolutely no brushed surfaces on the case to tie the look together. It also has a cheap flip-lock clasp instead of a higher quality push-button clasp like on the Seiko 5 SNK 355. While the bracelet feels rather light and cheap, I must admit, it's rather comfortable on the wrist. It helps that it's so light and weightless, making it good to wear in warmer summer months. It also surprisingly doesn't tug on my arm hairs like some other cheap bracelets tend to. I prefer to wear my SNXS79 on a leather strap. It's a very thick, distressed grey, vintage-style leather strap with stitching on either side near the lugs. The off-white stitching really complements the off-white loomed embassies and are a perfect match. The worn, distressed leather really accentuates the smooth, rich sunburst dial and makes it pop. The thickness of the strap, combined with the raw, unstitched edges, makes the leather strap wear very thick and was instantly recognizable, for me, as a perfect fit. Though I must admit, I sometimes still wear the flimsy original bracelet on warmer days. It's not the best quality, but light and comfortable enough for when it gets really hot out. There are some other options, though. A 19mm suede grey strap would also look great for casual wear, or a 19mm black crocodile strap would look dynamite for more formal occasions. Finding alternative straps that are precisely 19mm to fit this watch can be tricky. Usually, straps are made with an even lug width measurement, like 18, 20, or 22 mm. With that said, you're not out of options completely. You can throw this watch on an 18mm NATO or purlon strap, and the spring bar will be exposed ever so slightly, but it's barely noticeable and will look just fine. This is especially helpful if you already own watches and watch straps with an 18mm width, so you can swap between them. Heck, James Bond wore a NATO strap much smaller than the lug width of his Rolex Submariner in some of his movies, and he's James Bond. But if the SNXS79 is your only watch, you might as well get the exact size strap to fit it, which is 19mm. You could also wear a 20mm NATO, purlon, or leather strap, as long as you still use 19mm spring bars. It'll be a bit of a snug fit, but it'll encompass the entire length of the spring bar, and nobody will ever notice that 1mm difference. SNX. You could also wear a 20mm NATO, purlon, or leather strap, as long as you still use 19mm spring bars. It'll be a bit of a snug fit, but it'll encompass the entire length of the spring bar, and nobody will ever notice that 1mm difference. SNXS 79. Dimensions and comfort. The Seiko. SNXS 79 has rather unusual dimensions that, on paper, don't really reflect how the watch wears. Let me explain. It has a 37mm diameter, like many Seiko 5 models, and a very condensed 42mm lug-to-lug dimension. This means it'll fit comfortably on most people's wrists without hanging over the edge, even on those with smaller wrists. The crown at the 4 o'clock position certainly helps to add to the comfort, but I'll admit, it's such a tiny crown. It can be difficult to pull out and use. The thickness, though, is what really throws me off about the size of this watch. It measures 13mm thick, but doesn't quite wear as such. Part of this is because it's mostly the movement jotting out at the bottom of the case, adding to the thickness. The good news is, this raises the entire watch off your wrist a bit and gives you a bit of extra wiggle room when moving your wrist around, adding to the overall comfort. The bit of extra height does help to add a touch of extra wrist presence, though not by much. 7S26 Movement. The Seiko 7S26 is a tried and true movement that's probably been spoken about thousands of times. It keeps decent time. It can take a beating for years and years without needing a service, and is extremely affordable. The description of this movement basically sums up the entire experience of owning a Seiko 5. It doesn't have any ultra-modern features seen in newer models of watches, like hacking or hand winding, though you'll have to jump up to a tier in price to get access to those. It does exactly what you need it to do, keeps decent time. It also has a day and a date wheel and a display case back, so you can see the movement through the underside of the watch. Seiko 5 models. Similar to the SNXS 79 worth considering. As I said earlier, there are so many different Seiko 5 variants to choose from. Between this model alone, there's the Malaysian and Japanese version respectively. The Malaysian version has a Spanish day wheel, and there has a kanji date wheel. The differences end there. There are also some similar Seiko 5 variants you may want to consider if you're already looking at the SNXS 79. All in all, the Seiko 5 SNX79 is a watch that offers exceptional value. It has a clean and elegant design which is complemented by a striking grey sunburst dial. It is of course equipped with a robust and durable automatic movement which has proven to be a workhorse. The watch has some downsides, but these are things that at least I can live with when factoring in the price. There are few other brands that are able to offer such great finish, reliability, and build quality as Seiko with automatic watches, and the Seiko SNXS79 definitely lives up to the expectations. If you are looking for a versatile, everyday watch that can be worn on practically any occasion, you really cannot go wrong with this watch.